Probably my favorite all-time conspiracy theory is the Montauk Project. In the previous generation of the internet, it unraveled for me as I went down the rabbit hole, learning more and more about it, and became hooked. Especially when the Montauk Monster showed up on the beach. The theory involves alleged secret government experiments that took place in the 1970s at Camp Hero on Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York. The project is said to have involved mind control, time travel, teleportation, and other paranormal phenomena. The theory claims that the project was an extension of the Philadelphia experiment, another conspiracy theory involving a US Navy experiment that supposedly rendered a ship invisible in 1943. According to the theory, the experiment was moved to Montauk in the 1970s due to safety concerns. It also suggests that the project was carried out by a collaboration between the US government, the military, and private contractors. It is believed that the experiments were conducted on abducted children who were subjected to psychological and physical torture to enhance their psychic abilities. The ending of this experiment and the shutting down of Camp Hero was allegedly because of an incident where a monster, this is a different monster than the one I referenced earlier, but this monster was pulled in from another dimension, creating terror and chaos at the base. But was this monster real? In a sense, yes. The origins of the Montauk Project theory was popularized by Preston Nichols, Al Bielek, and Stuart Swerdlow. These individuals claim to have been involved in the project and have written books and given interviews detailing their experiences. Preston Nichols, a purported former employee at the Montauk Air Force Station, wrote a book in 1982 called The Montauk Project: Experiments in Time. He claimed to have worked on top-secret government projects including the Montauk Project and detailed his experiences of time travel and mind control experiments. Al Bielek, another key figure in the theory, claimed to have been part of the Philadelphia experiment and the Montauk Project. He appeared in interviews and documentaries, recounting his experiences and providing details about the alleged experiments. Stuart Swerdlow, a self-proclaimed psychic, claimed to have been involved in the Montauk Project as a child. He wrote a book called Montauk: The Alien Connection, in which he described the alleged experiments on children and their development of psychic abilities. Stewart was regarded as one of the Montauk Boys, a group of young boys who were allegedly abducted and subjected to mind control and other experiments at Camp Hero. According to the theory, the boys were selected for their psychic abilities and subjected to various experiments, including time travel, mind control, and genetic manipulation. The goal of the experiments was to create a group of psychic warriors who could be used for military purposes. The boys were trained in various combat techniques, including martial arts, and they were used in covert operations. Some versions of the theory suggest the boys were sent on missions to other planets and dimensions. Now, some of you familiar with this theory all know this. There's little more I can give you that isn't already out there, mainly by these three sources. You can find videos debunking this and videos confirming this. For those of you that don't know the story, well, it gets even more convoluted. For example, Bielek claimed that he was originally named Edward Cameron and was part of the crew of the USS Eldridge, the ship that was allegedly involved in the Philadelphia experiment in 1943. According to him, the ship was rendered invisible and teleported to another location. Bielek claimed that he and his brother, who had also been on the ship during the experiment, were later recruited for the Montauk Project due to their involvement in the Philadelphia experiment. He claimed that the Montauk Project was an extension of the Philadelphia experiment and involved further experiments in time travel, teleportation, and mind control. Now, as pointed out by others regarding this tale, this part of the story seems to be exactly like the story of the movie The Philadelphia Experiment. And many claim that Bielek just used that movie to continue to embellish the lie that he propagated for money. It was all part of the lore that in Camp Hero, the military was doing experiments on the following: time travel. It was claimed that the Montauk Project involved experiments in time travel with the goal to develop time traveling technology for military purposes. Mind control. Experiments in mind control with the goal of creating a psychic warrior. that could be used for military operations. Teleportation. Again, experiments in teleportation, with the goal of being able to transport people and objects instantaneously across vast distances. Abduction of children. These were subjected to physical and psychological torture to enhance their psychic abilities. If you look into Preston Nichols, you'll see why this last one had to be propagated so much. The creature that washed up on the beaches of Montauk have been theorized to be actually from Plum Island, where it is said to be another government research base doing strange experiments on animals and alleged bioweapons. A kind of island of Dr. Moreau in real life. Now, if this is the first time you've heard of this story, well, if you haven't clicked off the video by now, you're probably wondering why anyone could believe this stuff. It sounds pretty ridiculous. And it does. But the more ridiculous stuff was sort of added on over time. The foundations of the theory are what really pull you in. Secret program to experiment on time travel, mind control, teleportation, experiments on citizens. These are all things the government has actually done. And in the mysterious base with a giant radio antenna that was shut down and either boarded up or often entryways filled with concrete, adds to the believability that something secretive was going on there. And well, it's the military, so something secretive was going on there. But what? Could any of this actually be true? Here's what I think. And in order to follow my theory, you have to understand how the government uses and plants people into certain groups in order to subvert them so they look foolish to the outside world. So anything said about the topic, they've successfully ridiculed from the inside, and it's mocked at and ignored. And by doing this, they can safely rule out any serious inquiry into what was really going on. What I see all too often is people deeply invested in these stories get caught up in self-professed and even sometimes proven ex-CIA, military, or government people who join the community and leak to them things that are already believed, but then they take it to a more fantastical area. The idea of this psyops is to confirm some of the details, while then, gaining believability and trustworthiness, begin to lead and derail the community and story down a path that leads them further and further from the truth, and most importantly, further from being taken seriously. We've seen this in UFO communities, general conspiracy communities, weather control, the moon, etc. It gets the people invested to start focusing on the new details that start getting more and more fantastical, because it's new information, rather than focusing on the details that may have some truth to them. For example, the big radio dish on Montauk. We know that the government ran many experiments on how electromagnetic signals and certain radio wave frequencies can affect the brain. MK Ultra being exposed showed a lot of this, so it isn't that crazy to think that the military could have been doing these types of experiments on the locals of this area. Rather than stealing kids and strapping them into some psychic chair, perhaps they merely sent out radio waves, seeing what effect it would have on the citizens, without them even knowing. It's also possible that they could have been attempting to boost the signal of some psychic experiments, seeing if they could use the men who stare at goats people to reach more and more people, or reach them easier or more intensely. We know the government experimented on all sorts of psychic phenomena, just as the Soviets did. Remote viewing being looked at as a possible way to covertly spy and intelligence gathering. So it's possible that this type of experiment was being done there at the base. It is also possible that they did run experiments on people from the area, and could very well have offered street people and runaways money and food in order for their participation, rather than kidnapping specific types of people for their experiments. See, the basics are not unbelievable. They are really almost likely. But when you bring people in like Swerdlow, Bielik, and Nichols, well then the whole thing has become tainted with the far more fantastical. Time travel, ripping holes into other dimensions, pulling in a giant beast that tore up the island from another dimension, inhabiting other people's bodies, traveling and living on Mars. It's too much, and even if it was true, no one in the normal world is going to take it seriously. They would barely take the bare bones seriously. Now I know many of the true believers out there will think, Well, the normies will never take it seriously, so why bother with them? But things like MK Ultra being exposed does happen, and if you care about the truth, you really want to get better at spotting government plants. See, the real monster isn't the one that came through the portal, because I don't believe that happened. The true monster is the secrecy of what the government and institutions ran on everyday citizens, and continue to do so to this day. The desire to find every method to control your behavior and mind. And the second monster is the mind that allows this controlling to happen willingly. Now, what do you think? Is this Montauk story true, or is it a psyops? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps out, and thank you for watching. I'll talk to you next time.